I wanted to get to something. We've talked about this with Eric on shows in the past, but I wanted to ask you guys, especially with your years of experience in the NFL, what do you make of Tim Tebow in Denver? They're 6-1 since he took over, and they aren't pretty wins, but they're winning. What do you make of it?
I mean, I'll just say you gotta love the guy. I mean, being a Christian man myself, I appreciate someone that actually gives glory where it should be. That being said, I think he's not a very good quarterback at all. No.
Does it drive you crazy to see those
It
mechanics?
does drive me crazy, but it's good. I think he's a great football player, right?
Right.
I don't think he's a good quarterback. If you put a guy like Owen Daniels, a guy like not Joel Dreesen, James Casey.
James Casey.
Guys that played quarterback.
Tim Tebow,
Yes, I think they could. Both of them.
A running.
Yeah, they could throw the ball if you had to and run as a tight end. I think if you put both in that situation, they could do it. I think it rubs people the wrong way, including me, which I never thought I was a purist at the quarterback position. I'm more of a purist than I thought I was, because when I see that, like, the way he throws the ball just drives me nuts.
He threw for 200 yards
against
the Vikings.
Last game was actually better than
game plan
before.
was designed to take away his runs.
Yeah.
And to see if he really could throw it. He threw for 200 yards.
He actually threw pretty well last game. It was better than, I forgot what game. It might have been the Jets game.
When they was
some
2
of the
for 8
throws he
and they
was
still
throwing.
won.
Oh my gosh, the ball was like this coming down. I mean, can you imagine catching a ball like that? You know those are hard to catch. The ducks.
Being left-handed.
Oh yeah, it's coming as a duck left-handed. You're like, yeah.
See, I think he's one of those guys. You gotta expect the unexpected, because even though you might have thrown for 200 yards, is that you're still worried about the run, and it's like you just don't know. You know, it's kind of hard to prepare for him.
Right.
You know, because it's so inconsistent, and with his style, I just it's kind of like what we were talking about earlier with quarterbacks and guys given a chance just because where they got drafted. I feel, I just wish we could go back 10 years and get a lot of the quarterbacks who they said would have never been NFL quarterbacks by their style of play that he's bringing to the game now that Denver's letting him do.
Yeah, you mentioned Tommy Frazier.
Yeah,
Tommy Frazier.
Yeah.
Charlie Ward.
Couch. Remember? Tim or Eric.
Eric Crouch.
Eric Crouch.
Both of them from Nebraska.
A running quarterback would never work in the NFL.
Right.
Right.
And now they're letting him get away with it.
Unless you're Randall Cunningham. Back in the day, that was it.
Is he more than a novelty quarterback, though? I mean, can this last?
He's winning. I've always hated in my life. I've always hated the person that would rather look good and lose than look bad and win. And he proves that, hey, I'm going to go out and I'm going to get it done. It doesn't matter how. I don't care what I look like. I'm going to get it done and go home happy. And isn't that what we all want in this league?
Is he winning though?
Is it him?
I agree he's not
let's
losing
give some
games
credit
for
to their
him.
defense.
They didn't win before he was the quarterback.
I agree.
Right.
But
So-
what I will say, he's not losing games for him at all. He's taking care of the ball, which is what the best thing he's done for sure. I mean, he throws touchdowns. Yeah, he doesn't throw picks.
Right.
But if you look at the defense, like you said, since he's been playing, they've turned it on ridiculously. Like Elvis Dumerville, a guy that was
He's back.
injured,
He was
hasn't
gone for a
played.
year.
Yeah.
It seems like.
I mean, he wasn't doing anything, and now all of a sudden he's playing great.
And they didn't have Von Miller against the Vikings.
And Von
their
Miller
defense
has
gave up some points, but they still pulled it out.
Yeah, Von has
end.
played really well.
I will say, like, as far as right now how he's winning and everything, and you could tell it's probably each week, and you guys know we're not in the team locker room or anything, and I wonder how stressful it is on the coaches to try to get prepared for each and every week, knowing what they're dealing with. But then, as a general manager, seeing his style is like, how do you build a team around that? Like how do you go out and get a good receiver, but knowing that he's not going to be utilized?
Exactly.
What receiver wants to play for
I
him?
agree.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How do you go out and get a good tight end? How do you get out and get a good tight end if you won't be to utilize him based off of what, because the quarterback makes everything function. And a quarterback, a franchise quarterback, that's when you can just build around him. But with him, you got to do what works for him. You can't do what really works for nobody else.
Your whole offense.
Your whole
That is
offensive
true,
game.
yeah.
So how do you build for the future?
I
with
would
that?
think linemen would like that, but receivers would.
Linemen and running
love
backs.
to run the ball.
Like
Right.
McGahee,
Yeah.
you talked about it earlier.
Yeah.
McGahee's
Right.
resurging right now. I mean, he looks like the old Willis.
Yeah.
But then it's like, how long will they last? Like,
Exactly.
you can't run the ball. What the last time, like 55 times?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Both
but as soon as the run gets stopped, then he dumps it over and throws for 200 yards. That's the only reason he only threw for 200 yards, because they started clamping down on the run and he'd dump it over top.
You guys all were in a lot of different locker rooms in your years, and y'all are done with the game. Neil, you're still in it. Jake Plummer had some
Congrats.
interesting comments about Tim Tebow.
Thank you.
Saying that it's not just that he's a self-professed Christian and he's, always talking about his faith.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of guys that are men of faith in the NFL, but it's that he's always talking about it. Like, Jake's implication was, hey, we know you're a good Christian, but you don't have to keep reminding us about it. Would that grate on you as a teammate if a guy is always trying to preach to you instead of, I guess practicing his religion like everybody else?
I don't think he's preaching. I think he's just saying what he thinks, why he thinks he's successful. I don't think he's necessarily preaching to them saying, oh, you should do what I do. I understand what you mean, because every time you see an interview, it's more of like, thanks to God, but that's just what he believes.
Right.
I'm the same. I believe the same thing. So even if I didn't, I don't think I'd say, well, he shouldn't be saying that because I don't believe it. That's forcing your belief on him.
Right.
If you think of it that way.
Right.
I don't know. I just think people want a reason not to like him. I think he's a great guy personally. And he's winning. You're right. I just don't think he's a good quarterback. So,
but can
it has
it be
nothing to do with his
uncomfortable
faith.
in the locker room with a guy like that?
I think there's a point where you don't want to. I played with Kurt Warner, who obviously is a Christian.
Right.
He's the same guy, whether he's with his teammates, he's with his family, or he's in front of the camera, and that's how I judge.
Right.
Not that I'm there to judge, but that's how I measure a true man.
Right.
I mean, he's the same guy no matter what situation he's
genuine.
in. Yes, but he did it in a way that he didn't push his beliefs on anybody else. We knew where Kurt stood.
Right.
And certain music wasn't played in the locker room because of Kurt.
Kurt, right.
I mean, but the people respected him for that reason.
They didn't have any Luther Campbell go in the locker room with those Cardinals teams.
That was a great point. It depends on the respect you have for that person. That you will do something different. Like, I've been around. You've been around guys where I know I might do something around him, but if I'm by him, I'm not going to do it for the respect that I have for him.
Yeah.
Even Kurt Warner, though, said, Tim, you need to tone it down a little bit.
Well, and that's, I played in Cincinnati. I'm not going to name names, but, I missed a big field goal, and he came over and gave me a Bible after I missed it.
Yeah.
I followed him back to his locker, and I handed it back to him. I said, I think he's got bigger fish to fry than whether the ball flies through the air. Don't get me wrong.
God's not rooting for
Bengals? God doesn't care about the field goal.
There's a fine line. What I liked that Tim Tebow said, and I thought this was great. Somebody sent it to me on a Facebook page. And he said, you don't just tell your wife once that you love her. So you tell her every day that you love your wife. So that's how I feel about God. I tell God I love him every day. And I said, you know what? Now I get it.
That's actually,
I
that's pretty
understand
good, actually.
And which tells me he's a very wise man as well.
Why is he such a polarizing figure? There are a lot of people who either say that they think he's fake or that he's, he doesn't need to be trying to ram this down our throats. Why do people?
Because he's too good to be true type. That's what it is. It's because he's such a good guy. They're thinking, oh, well, he can't really be like that because he's. Well, football player stereotypes, first of all, which are ridiculous. We all know that. But you see movies like, what was that TV show, the fake football TV show, where they were doing drugs and all that stuff?
Playmakers.
Yeah, remember that?
Yeah.
So my wife was like, oh, is that what it's really like? And she's my wife.
In the parking lot during the halftime.
She didn't even know. So, the average person has no idea. They think we all go out to clubs and do all this stuff. So they think, well, he can't be that way because he's in the same locker room as these other guys. So I think they want to kind of bring him down a peg almost. Right. And
because of the 3% of us that make bad decisions
that are knuckleheads.
And the thing about it is he's in a profession where, like everybody said, the way he is, it's like you find those guys, they're altar boys.
Yeah.
But here's an NFL guy like that, and the thing about it is, whoever he decides, you're gonna have a lot. They're gonna have a lot of shoes to fill, or they're gonna have to be, because. In this world, whoever he decides to marry, she can't possibly be affiliated with this football world. She's gonna have to be like a nun or something.
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute. That's not gonna work either.
That's not gonna work.
No comment. No comment.
Well, let's be honest. There's haters everywhere. No matter what you do good, there's gonna be people trying to tear you down. No matter what.
Right.
No matter what your intention is. Somebody's going to be flipping it around that your intentions were bad. And, he's going to run into that. He's going to be criticized for it. And, he's a man. He stands up. This is the way I'm going to do it. And you can either like it or you know, don't.
Yep.